From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. We're going to get to the latest with the Broncos head coaching search. But, of course, we're going to start out talking about the conference championship games. What a weekend of football it was. And to help me break it down, the great Steve Atwater. What up, Pat?
What's up, R. Edwards?
It's good to see you, man.
Hey, man, good to be seen.
We got a Super Bowl. We got the Eagles and we got the Chiefs. And these games were really good. I mean, I think a little bit weird, right? Because for the 49ers, their quarterback gets hurt in the first quarter, and then it kind of changes the entire trajectory of the game. And then for the Chiefs, of course, you saw Patrick Mahomes out there, definitely not 100%. They somehow escaped with a win against the Cincinnati Bengals. But what do you feel like you took away from those games, especially when it comes to what the Broncos are going to be looking forward to, hopefully getting back into that conversation maybe this next year?
Yeah, well, you got to have talent all over the place. You got to be able to run the ball. You know, that was apparent. The Philadelphia Eagles were able to pound the ball, and they have a super mobile quarterback in Jalen Hurts as well. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs did just enough to beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati was in it right there to the end, and some people will blame it on the young man who pushed Patrick Mahomes out of bounds.
Joseph Asai.
Yeah, but it was way more than that, though. So hopefully he doesn't take it too harshly himself.
Well, I mean, you've had a moment in the Super Bowl where you decided to, maybe you could call him and reach out to him and just help him out a little bit. Anyways, you brought up the Eagles. I couldn't help it, man. You were talking about it. You couldn't talk about it. I was just gonna mess with you. You talk about the Eagles. I think that's actually the closest thing the Broncos could look to build off of, maybe even a conversation like the 49ers. But you think about what Jalen Hurts and how they build everything off of the run and the RPOs. That's exactly what you should be looking for with this offense.
I don't know about that, just because Russell Wilson, although he is mobile, I like that he can run when he needs to run. I'm not thinking that, especially with the amount of years he's been in the league, that he'll be a guy that can just continue to run the ball as much as he doesn't run the ball that much either.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. It's all about the threat. It's all about the threat. And they did a great job breaking this down. I thought Greg Olson, by the way, is tremendous as an analyst. They did a great job breaking it down. The 49ers, I think it was Fred Warner, was flat-footed on one of those RPOs. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for that, because he had to wait to see what Jalen Hurts did. And the run ended up going off to the left, but he had to wait there in the middle to see if Jalen Hurts was going to take the ball and go to the right side, and that's where he had to cover. So it all it takes is a fraction of a second to make the defense think for just a moment that maybe you're going to take the ball and run with it.
Yeah, but I agree with that 100%. But the only thing is, Russell Wilson, I don't think he's as fast as he was in his earlier years. As
none of us are.
Been in the league in 10 years. You're slowing down just a little bit. But yeah, that would be a great offense if he was a little bit younger. But at this point in his career, I really don't want to see him running unless he has to, or in those situations, 3rd and 5 or something, and everybody got their backs turned and he takes off and runs for the first down. But I don't want that to be the primary part of our offense, is him running. And we're counting on him to get 100 yards or 40, 50, 60 yards rushing every game.
I mean, I think that's fair. But conversely, when you tried to make him a pure pocket quarterback, that wasn't the way to go about it either. Well,
I think there's an offense that definitely fits his talents, and we didn't see that really. I kind of at the end of the year we did, but most of the season we didn't. We saw flashes and glimpses of it, but I think there is an offense out there that he fits really well in, and it suits his skill set. And I still think he's a great quarterback, and he's going to get back to dominance.
I'm inclined to agree with you, but again, it's going to be about fit, right? Scheme fit, and about really kind of working with his strengths. And I think even at what he is in his career at 34 years old, I still think that he has mobility enough to and that he needs to build off of that part of his game more so than the, hey, we're gonna surround a pocket around you and you just need to sit back there and deal.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't have any quarterback these days like that. I mean, Tom Brady's one of the few.
Right. But even when we watch Mahomes and watch Joe Burrow, those guys, I mean, Mahomes is hurt, but generally speaking, it's the same thing. Hey, man, if everything's covered, guess what? He's going to go get you 7 or 8 yards.
What all these guys have in common, they're young too, right? They're, 5, 6 years in the league or less. And Russell Wilson, again, those aches and pains, they last a little longer once you get up there 10, 11 years in the league. And I just hope that we don't try to make him a running quarterback any more than it needs to be. Now, we'll have to run some, 100%. But, again, I just don't want to build the foundation of our offense around that.
All right, fair enough. I don't want
to be like Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Hopefully we don't have any offense like that.
I think we're talking extreme ends of the spectrum here. I'm talking more of in the middle part, but I understand your point. Let's talk about the defense, though, because we saw some spectacular defensive performances. Man, now, once again, for the Eagles, again, you're playing up against the fourth-string quarterback there in Josh Johnson at one point, but I still think that they had a great game plan either way. 49ers have been an elite defense. We've seen the Cincinnati Bengals have good defensive moments, and I thought the Chiefs had one of their best defensive performances of the season. Yes. So tell me a little bit about what we saw in the defense.
Well, it all starts up front. It starts with great defensive linemen, team being able to get pressure with 4 guys. And if you can't do that, it's going to be difficult for you to stop offenses because they have too many weapons at the wide receiver position, getting mismatches with running backs and tight ends. So you got to be able to keep a majority of your secondary and linebackers back so they can help in coverage. You can't have those guys blitzing all the time. It's paramount, man, that you have some guys up front, edge rushers and interior guys that can get to the quarterback.
I mean, you're 100% right. And especially I think when you get towards the postseason, right, you get some guys banged up on the offensive line. We saw that for all the teams out there getting kind of banged up offensive linemen. And so then if you have elite pass rushers, they can take advantage of those mismatches. I really loved what the Chiefs did with Chris Jones, right? I mean, again, they were kind of moving him around, and some of his best work actually came from going against the right tackle. Because, again, it's one of those deals when you're an elite pass rusher, you really can be moved around. And so I think that there's something to learn there from the Broncos, regardless of who ends up coming in here. And we saw with Ejiro Evero this year, he did that oftentimes. He had Alex Singleton rushing. And again, that was part because they had so many injuries to the pass rush. But the fact is you can be multiple that way, and you can send different looks. And that's one of the things that we saw multiple times through these defenses.
Yeah, I agree. And Coach E, he was very creative with the way he used guys. He had Draymond Jones lined up on the edge.
Yes.
He had different guys, standing up on the line of scrimmage, moving around, showing different disguises. And that really poses problems for offenses when they don't really know offensive line. They don't really know who's coming and who's not. And we had problems blocking defenses that did that. And again, it provides problems for other offenses as well.
All right, one last thing. I want to talk about the coaching for a second. All of these coaches are known to be aggressive. We've seen it. Some of them are on the younger side of things. We got Nick Sirianni, you got Kyle Shanahan, you've got Zach Taylor, and then, of course, you got Andy Reid, who's been in the league for a long time. But all of them are known to be very aggressive. So is there something to learn from the fact that some of the biggest moments in those games, you saw teams say, hey, it's 4th down, 4th and 6. They had that deep pass to Jamar Chase. The Chiefs as well had a 4th down touchdown. The fact is, that ultimately, I think, rewards the teams that are willing to do it more often than it doesn't.
Well, it all depends on how it goes, man. If you got playmakers, you can do that. If your guys aren't making plays, hey, it can be super risky to take those chances. And, that's what our guys have to come in and do and prove that they can come through and make those clutch plays. And then you give the coaches confidence to call those 4th down plays. You can't do it if you're not making plays.
I mean, that's exactly right. And again, believing in your quarterback, believing in your team, and the confidence you gain, the guys gain from that. I think really on both sides of the ball, the fact that you say, hey, we're gonna go for it here. I'm gonna put the ball in your hands. You do something.
But again, if your guys are just average guys and they're not going to make the play, they're not going to have the confidence that they're going to make it. They'll say, okay, coach, go ahead and call it, and they're not going to do anything, and they're not going to convert, and everybody's going to be upset. They're going to blame the coach. Most of the times it doesn't go back to the player; it goes to the coach. Like, why did you call that? That was a crazy call. You didn't have the personnel to do that. So we've got to make sure we have playmakers in play to make those plays. And, the more we see that, the more I think Broncos country will feel confident that, yeah, we can go for it on 4th down.
That's a good point, Steve. You make a very good point. I'm not sold completely, but I will subscribe to your newsletter.
You can put anybody out there and just go for it.
Listen, I went for it every single time on Madden, and it worked out 65% of the time. All right. Very quickly here, I wanted to talk to you about the coaching stuff. Now, we heard a report over the weekend that the Broncos circled back and had, I guess, a second interview with Jim Harbaugh. The first interview was a virtual one on Zoom. Second one was in person in Ann Arbor. What do you make of that?
Well, very interesting, especially considering that what we had heard was that Jim Harbaugh was staying at Michigan. Now, hey, does that open the door and say, well, maybe he's open to coming and being the Denver Broncos' next head coach? It remains to be seen. We still don't know very much about, the hiring, I don't want to say the hiring process, but where they are with different candidates. So, we just got to sit in our hands and wait and speculate, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll hear something soon, though. I know Broncos Country is getting anxious.
Yeah, well, last week we had the report that the Broncos were very interested in DeMeco Ryans, who's the 49ers defensive coordinator, and it looks like he's going to be going to the Houston Texans. But the fact that they were interested in a first-time head coach, maybe that does tell us a little bit about where their mindset is they did take a look at some of the veteran coaches, the guys that have the experience, but they did keep their mind open to say, hey, if we're blown away in this process, we're going to open up and say, hey, let's take a look at some of these first-time guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can do a search and not interview guys who are first-time guys. With the Rooney Rule, that's one of the you got to interview a minority coach. So most of those guys haven't had any head coaching experience. So obviously you got to interview some guys. And hey, sometimes a person can wow you, and you can learn something that you didn't really know about them. But I think with the Walton Penner Group, the family ownership group, I think that they're being very diligent. They want to make the right hire, and they're not going to rush. And I respect that, and I respect that, hey, it's been a kind of a tight-lipped room. We don't really, there's not a lot getting out about what's going on, and that leads us to speculate. But I think I just got confidence that they're gonna go out and they're gonna get the right person for the job that can be here, hopefully for the long term.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Ryan.
Appreciate it. For Steve Atwater, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.